Alright, so for the next part of this tutorial, I'm going to go over the upsides and the downsides of PHP. Now, I thought this would be very important to include, as it would save you from going on an epic Googling scavenger hunt across the internet. One of the things I'd like to suggest beforehand for any language you're learning is if you're questioning whether or not it's a good language or a bad one, don't go on the PHP website and ask the developers if PHP is a good language. You're going to get a biased opinion stating that, yeah, PHP is the best, right? Well, they made it. They're working on it. Of course they think so. At the same time, don't go on Java or another programming website, for example, and ask them if PHP is bad, because you may have a bunch of hipsters on there who don't like PHP. It's completely personal. It's all preference. So I'm going to put some information and some upsides along with downsides, no worries, in here and let you make the choice for yourself, because in the end, it's all up to you. I can't enforce an opinion. I obviously am on the side of PHP, but there are downsides. So it's always good to focus on both, right? Anyway, the first upside is it's easy to learn for beginners. You're a beginner, it's easy. Whoa, convenient. Anyway, if you're someone who's completely new, it has concepts that are quite simplistic to pick up. It's not as difficult where you have to deal with the computer science workup of everything. For example, the C++, C languages, Java, some of those software languages, it's a little bit more complicated to do a similar thing. But there's theory behind PHP also. Another thing is there's lots of developers. There are endless, countless amount of developers with PHP. It could be ranging from a young kid, someone making a tutorial online, or it could be someone, the age doesn't matter. It's not even identified by that. There's a lot of developers, experience levels ranging, and they're there to help you, so you can visit websites galore. Great interaction capabilities, and this is referring to the fact that PHP is a social bug when it comes to talking with other things around the internet. You can connect with a MySQL database, many databases actually, and I'll talk about databases later, but that's very important. PHP can also communicate with the client, the browser. It's a server language. It communicates with everything, really. It's all up to you. So its interaction is very nice. It's object oriented. There's that two-word combo again. It's important. Object orientation is very nice in a language. It's great to have, so let's keep that. Now, to be pessimistic about all this, and let's look at the downside, shall we? Anyway, the first one, weak security. Boom, boom, boom. Whoa, why would I want to code in something with weak security? Well, all I can say is that the security is really up to the developer. I can't express enough that it's not PHP that has weak security, but rather the person who's coding in it that's just not efficient. And it is important, though, that with PHP you make sure your sites are secure. Next thing you know, you might have some overconfident 11-year-old putting cat pictures all over your page because there is some bypass he found out, right? So that'll all be explained throughout. There's security stuff. But like any language, PHP, since it's someone communicating with your site, if they're able to interfere with what they're sending, stuff can be manipulated. There's a lot of workarounds. So I thought I'd include that just to let you know that it's something you have to focus on. It's not a downside necessarily, but you have to keep that in mind. And sometimes messy. A lot of people have said this, whether you do PHP or not. PHP isn't messy. It's not a messy language. However, it can become messy very easily. And as you see when we work with it, if your logic is impaired and you're not organizing things, you can have a huge page full of nonsense that you can't make out. Neither can other developers. And the last one, I kind of threw this in off personal preference here. Lacking recognition. And this is referring to the fact that, well, if you make a website, who's going to view it? Average people that don't do PHP, right? So when they see your website and you don't know any web design, it's assuming you don't. You might be a web designer, but if you weren't, such as myself, someone looks at your page and they say, oh, look, it's a white page with a box that says log in. This website's terrible. Close browser, break computer, they're upset, right? However, they're not realizing how much work could be going on in the background. So as you know, PHP server side, the person's not really seeing what PHP is doing. So unless you add a bunch of neon lights all over your website, it may not look that pleasant to the user until you design it. So that's just a little thing to consider. You may feel like all your work's not getting much recognition, but in the end, it's quite a accomplishment to be able to say you can code advanced PHP. So we're going to get you there. Upcoming tutorial and anything in these videos is going to cover whether or not PHP is the language for you, summarize that, and then we're going to get into the good stuff where we start typing all that code, setting up your environment.